Hello everyone, I'm Matthias Nolte from Chemantics, and if you haven't heard from us yet, there's a reason for that because we're still a fairly new company. And thanks for allowing me to stand here and talk to you about what I'm going to say to you about our approach to semantic chemistry. We've just been incorporated into the Ostos family of companies, so despite having started small just recently, we are now have the backup of a large company with about 150 employees with all the bells and whistles behind regarding sales, marketing and support. So we're very grateful for that. Highly experienced in delivering R&D solutions and consulting is our bread and butter at Ostos. And our tool development was done in partnership with ChemAxon, and I want to thank all the ChemAxon employees here at this time for their generous time they spent with me in a lot of discussions, making the software available, and that goes all the way up to leadership, so thank you very much. This project wouldn't have been able to go forward without your tools. We provide data, we don't have a tool, so I can't show you any fancy user interfaces, but we have a data integration partner, which is Ontoforce. And Peter Farrick from Ontoforce is sitting in the audience, and he's going to talk about the integration later on as well. So feel free to talk to either one of us, Peter or myself, and we'll be happy to show you what our data can do. So what do we do? You've seen a similar slide before when we talked about or heard about the haystack application. We approach this problem of multiple data sources in pharma not from a search point of view, but from an exploration point of view. And we integrate basically any kind of structure you have in your organization. You can look at those on the right-hand side there. I'm not going to go through all of those since we've got generous 5 minutes to talk about our stuff. Thank you. But anything which has a compound and identifier, we can integrate into our data system, and we semantically enrich it, and that can be data which then sits next to each other from the public domain as well as your proprietary data. So what do we do? First, we need to analyze our compounds. As you know, compounds come in all kinds of shapes and sizes and colors, and they need to be standardized and validated, and of course we use the ChemAxon toolkits for those. Then we annotate those structures, so we have a very rigorous analyzation process to chemanticize these compounds, and we enrich the data based on chemical features. We have classification ontology with about 600 features which we identify in compounds, like functional groups, for example. We have our own functional group ontology, and we also infer 8 different species on average for each compound. So the data set explodes actually quite substantially. And then we have a sort index, which is basically an index which you can sort your compounds by. It's a topological based index, which allows you to sort compounds without reference. So it's a self-reference data set, basically. And every entity in our system has a URI. So that's really important because this URI is going to get integrated into the semantic framework when it gets ingested. So at this level, we typically work with our customers or Ontoforce oftentimes as well for semantic UI implementation. We also see a lot of work and use cases coming up in reference master data systems, where customers come to us and ask us if we can help them to look at their corporate assets and prepare them in a semantic way so they can be represented in their triple store alongside the other semantic data. It can also be used for data sharing. I'm not going to get into that right now, but we can talk about this later. And while we do all of this, we have always a clear separation of your proprietary data and the public data. And that's really all driven by the deployment and the way you and your company would like to look at the data. So the graph gets created, looks like this, and then it gets incorporated into the large knowledge graph, which is in the customer side typically. And because we have reduced the chemistry to simple URIs, the chemistry itself is actually kind of diminishing out of the whole picture. So the chemist can then look through the data and, I have to stop, and look through his own lens at this data and can still then find the individual molecules which were extracted out of the public and the domain data to get to the information they want to get to. So again, please talk to Peter and myself later on, and we'd be happy to talk to you. Thank you for your attention.